Good morning. It's a Tuesday. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Veterans Claim Servants podcast. This morning, I'm with a great brother, a great fellow veteran, a Marine veteran at that. We are going to be talking today. His name is Will Reed. Will Reed, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, my friend. Thanks for having me on this morning. How are you?
I appreciate you jumping on, and I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good. It's a beautiful day. I'm excited to be on here and talk transition, talk about some of your time and experiences in the Marines. And I'm doing good, brother. And I'm
Awesome.
even better now I'm with you.
Awesome. I'm humbled.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So thank you guys if you are listening for tuning in today to Will and I. We hope what we discuss gives you some insight, gives you some help. We're going to talk specifically about Will's time in the Marines. And also, more specifically, we're going to hone in on his transition from military to civilian life. One big need I think that Will and I both agree on is the transition, from military to civilian life. It is very, very tough, right? And I'm just going to say it like this: transition assistance programs, aka TAP programs, going from military to civilian life, we've got to do a better job. So, that's where we come in too. And we're the brokers, if you will. We want to give real life information. Here, I was Army, Will was Marines, and we can both relate. We have real life experiences of what it was like during that transition. So, thank you for listening. If you are paying attention here, make sure that you like, subscribe, join, share, all that stuff if you think somebody can use this information and find it useful. So again, thank you for your time. If you're a veteran, listen to this. You matter. You care to Will and I. Your life has purpose and meaning. And if you need anything, you can reach out to us. We are here for you and want to help you get the benefits and the things that you're entitled to because you, my friend, serve this country if you are listening. So thank you. So Will, thank you for joining us again, brother. I'm glad that you're on this channel, man. Glad that you're on here, hopping on here. So you were in the Marines. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you were in the Marines for.
Yeah, so I am full transparency. So back when I was in the TAPS program didn't exist.
Okay.
So I graduated high school in 1998. Pretty much born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm sorry, I graduated high school in 1997. Waited a year, didn't really know what I was going to do, was going different routes. Was I going to go to college? Was I going to, wasn't sure. After about a year out of high school, it was just time to go. It was time to leave. It was time to leave Jacksonville and go experience different things. And the military was the fastest way to do that. So went in, talked to a couple of different recruiters with a couple of different branches, and kind of for where I was at the time, the Marines ended up being the fastest ship date.
Yeah.
And that's why they got my signature. So I was in from 1998 to 2002. The first 3.5 years that I was in, we were basically, we were in peacetime. So it was a lot of training. It was a lot of boredom, so to speak. Had done a med cruise. We floated around the Mediterranean, saw a bunch of places. They say, see the world, travel, make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I saw the world and traveled. The make a lot of money didn't quite happen, but it was it was fun. It was a great experience. And then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And we were in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We were actually just finishing up our workups to deploy for what would have been my second Mediterranean, med float.
Yeah.
And that's where we, a Marine Expeditionary Unit. We train up, we get qualified, we deploy, and we float around the Mediterranean and to respond to events that happen in the world. Well,
Mhm.
that day, as everyone knows, that day the world changed significantly, and
Yeah.
we ended up leaving. We ended up leaving a little bit early. Um, instead of convoying up to Norfolk to load the ships the traditional way, um, all of the ships had left port
Mhm.
after the attacks. So they ended up picking us up. I want to say it was September 18th,
Mhm.
and we did an amphibious onload. We went across the beach, loaded, um, headed across the ocean. We stopped in Egypt to do a short little training op, which I thought was odd, but
Mhm.
ultimately, long story short, we go through the Suez Canal. We sat in the Indian Ocean for a little while, and ultimately, December 2nd, 2001, we offloaded and ultimately ended up going and holding Kandahar International Airport for a couple of months until the Army came in to relieve us. Um,
Mhm. I've been there. I've been to Kandahar.
yeah,
Shout out.
yeah, it was man, it was weird, man. When you just think
Sure.
of when we got there, I wanted the only people that had gotten there before us were special forces and the CIA.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when we arrived, it was the craziest thing to see. Just the flight line was riddled with old Russian aircraft from when they had invaded back in the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
So this stuff was just sitting there rotting, and now here we are, 2001, back in the same place where, just a region just riddled with conflict is happening.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can attest to that, to the Russian stuff.
yeah.
We would go on convoys. I did a couple of tours there, RC South and RC East, the Kandahar region, and then out of Bagram, I guess, but traveled all over the country. But there was a ton of things that we had to be careful for, and leftover Russian fragments and all that stuff, man. So I can relate to you, brother.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a
You
war
know,
zone.
yeah, yeah, absolutely is a war zone for centuries. It's been a war zone.
Yeah.
And so much so that the entire airport area was a complete minefield, 360 degrees around. We had one mine roller, and they ultimately had got it there because we weren't made for going that far inland, right? When you think of Marines, aquatic in nature,
Yeah.
and to be to go that far inland. I mean, we couldn't bring our artillery, we couldn't bring our tanks, we couldn't bring anything of substance. We ultimately had, Humvees. They were to bring in some of the
Softback
AAVs.
Humvees at that too. Softback Humvees.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Very much. There was no armor plating.
Yeah, no Max Pros, no MRAPs, with double armored plating and all that jazz.
No,
Bulletproof.
there was none of that stuff. So we held the airport for like I said, for a couple of months until the Army came in and um, saw some conflict, a few times,
Yep.
during that. And my original EAS date to get out was, I want to say it was June 7th.
Mm.
So I got back stateside first, second week in May. I'd end up coming back advance party to help kind of restore the battalion area for when the rest of the battalion would arrive. So I was 2 weeks ahead of them, and as soon as their boots hit the dirt, man, I was checking out,
Yeah.
and turned in my gear and went home. You
Gotcha.
know,
Gotcha. Yeah,
um,
I remember when I joined, was June 14th, Army's birthday.
Okay.
I joined, yeah. And then within a year was actually in Afghanistan.
Wow.
Of joining. Yeah. Yep. So I can relate to you, man. And that's pretty cool. I didn't know. Well, maybe you told me, but I didn't really realize that we were in the same areas,
Mhm.
So that's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. And, you know,
Just a decade apart.
yeah, just a decade apart. Yeah, I remember when 9/11 happened, I was actually sitting um, in school, and when that happened, and it came on one of the TVs in our teacher's class. I forget what teacher's class I was in, but I was in Ocala, Florida, right before I joined, and or a year or two before I joined the military, and that happened, and that's a day that's forever changed this nation, and so much happened that day. But brother, again, thank you for your service and for your time in the Marines. And just, I appreciate you. I always want to make sure I let veterans know because, this country wouldn't be what it is without our nation's veterans. So thank you, brother. I
Mhm.
appreciate your time. So I really want to talk about, thank you for sharing and opening up and being vulnerable about your time in the Marines there a little bit. But I really want to focus on a big topic, the transition to civilian life, right? A lot of people are struggling with that transition to civilian life. Um, and I want to identify here, what was your journey from military to civilian life? Um, what do you say to a military member listening to this right now that's transitioning from military and is about to EAS or ETS
Mhm.
out into civilian life? Um, what advice do you have for another veteran or to another active duty member, National Guard reservist that's going to be getting out transitioning?
So let's back that up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the transition to leave military service, and this isn't a negative, it should start when you join,
Mhm.
because there will be a day where you are no longer putting on that uniform.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So there's just notice with a lot of veterans that are that have medical issues that are trying to get those medical issues resolved after service.
Mhm.
It's so much more difficult because you're trained and it's ingrained in you to just suck it up. Don't go to sick call. Don't you tweaked your knee. Just deal with it. And you're no good to anyone if you're not functioning at 100%. Okay, so
Exactly. Yeah.
let's start there. And when when you have those records of things that happen along the way, you're I'm still waiting for medals and awards because I got out so fast. A lot of the battalion accommodations and things that came in, they never got entered in my record book because once I'm out,
Yeah.
I was out, you know,
Yeah.
and it's been 20 plus years now, so it's probably not going to happen at this point.
Difficult. It's difficult. Yeah. While you're in, you're absolutely right. While you're
Diligent.
it's important to, if you're a leader in the military right now and you happen to scroll across this right conversation that Will and I are having, um, take care of your soldiers, your Marines, your sailors. Take care of them, and exactly, you're going to take off that uniform at one point or another,
Yep.
and the VA disability benefits, I always want to let people know that this is not, it's replacement income. Because if you get hurt, and let's say I'm working for Will, when I get out and I didn't address that issue while I was in the service, then I'm having to go on my dime because of
Yep.
an injury that occurred for my selfless service to this nation, and an injury that occurred while I was PTing, while I was on a mission, a training incident, boot camp, I don't know. But then I've got to start going to physical therapy. Then I got to start going to hearing exams. Then I got to start getting hearing aids and things like that, because your body does catch up to you, you
Yeah.
know. And if
You're
you
not.
don't have that to cover down, then, and you don't have benefits or something, then it's going to be difficult for you. And guess who's coming out of pocket? You.
That's it.
The veteran on. Guess
Yep.
who's wear and tear is on those tires and who's paying the gas and things? You. And here's another thing. I don't agree with what the VA does too. There are veterans that they will say, okay, Will, you got hurt while you're in. However, you do not have service connection because you did not take care of yourself while you're on active duty. We'll give you a little bit of treatment. And actually, we'll go a step further and prescribe you some pills or some pain medication for that back injury of yours. But once you get service connection, then we're going to collect that money back.
Right.
We're going to collect that money back. And people go, whoa, I owe them. You know, I got a bill from the VA for my prescriptions and I owe money to them now that I got a service, connected rating of, let's call it tinnitus or whatever. And so that $171 that I'm getting in 2024 is being taken away from me. Right. And again, this goes back to what Will said, what you just said, brother, that this all started and could have been mitigated in service.
Yep.
But we're told to suck it up. We're told to deal with it by our chain of command. So leaders, if you're listening to this, the transition part starts with you. And military members, it starts with you, because I don't know anyone not listening to this podcast right now that is a military member or a veteran that is not going to take care of themselves if they have an injury or get hurt.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's just it. Like your car gets ready to get an oil change. You're going to take it. You're going to take the car. You're going to get the oil change. You're not waiting for permission to do it. You're not waiting for somebody to tell you do it. And we're talking about, less than 1% of the population that join to go into military service. Right. And in my opinion, they are the top 1% of citizens of the United States that accept that call for service. And so we know that inherently there is a dedication to duty. There is a desire to do something and serve something greater than themselves. And I know they have the responsible nature to take care of themselves, but they almost get to where they are afraid to do so. So just understanding that they're, like in the Marines, right? The corpsmen are there for a reason. Use them, make sure that when you see them, that it's getting entered into your medical record book. Make sure that the things that you participated in, whether it's schools, it's deployments, you want to make sure all of that stuff gets put into your permanent records so you have them permanently.
Yeah.
And that just makes things so much easier. And if you do that consistently throughout your service, whether you do your 4 years, 8 years, or 22, whatever that looks like, you have them.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Because one thing you can't do that later on is provide evidence. You can't come up with evidence later on. And evidence-based claims are what I, teach people and answer questions about all day long and give the education for is, do you have the evidence? How are we going to get this proved? If you don't have the evidence and you didn't take care of yourself, then how are you ever going to prove that? It's kind of like me and you getting in a car wreck while we were on, but we can't produce, while we were on active duty, but you and I cannot produce the accident report, and we're trying to claim it 20 years later. It's like, it ain't going to fly.
Yeah, that's it. And for leaders out there, and this isn't true with every leader that you have, but I've talked to more veterans than I haven't that felt like once they decided to leave active duty, that they were in some way, shape, or form doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's part of where the transition fail starts, because everybody's got a date on the contract. It's not like you just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to go home. Leaders have this information. Everybody knows this information. But once a junior enlisted service member decides that they're not going to do number 2 or they're not going to do number 3, then it's almost, for many, if they feel like they've been cast out. And
the chain of commands make people feel that way, and they make people feel crazy if they're in the sick call, formation, because they've got something wrong with them that morning before PT,
Yep.
it's almost like they're singled out, or
Yeah.
they can't make it to PT or to the motor pool or whatever to do the, PMCS and the routine maintenance on our units equipment or company's equipment and things like that. It's like we're outcast.
Right.
And look, I'm not going to stand here. I was a leader in the Army. I'm not going to stand here and not be and be a hypocrite. I was part of that. I
Yeah.
was part of saying, "Dang it, you know what? I've only got 2 people here, and we got to clear out this Connex. What the heck? Where you at? Oh, that person's. We like to call it a sham artist.
Yep.
So we've got to encourage each other while on active duty, before our transition, before our EAS, before our ETS. If you have an issue, make sure that you get seen. If you
Yep.
got a problem, make sure that you get it taken care of. Whether that be on VA disability benefits, for future benefits whenever you get out for you and your family, whether that be educationally, whatever, make sure that you get what you need to administratively, medical evidence wise, all of those things. Make sure that you get them taken care of and addressed before you get out. I have also seen a further issue too. I had a veteran that reached out to me and asked me a, question. He was in Japan and he says, "How do I get my DD 214?" So,
Wow.
There are administrative failures as well too, where you, the veteran, are your best advocate before
Yep.
you get out. And you've got to advocate for yourself. You got to make sure that administratively, no one's going to look at your DD 214 or care about it more than you. But
Yep.
if you just get out and you don't pay attention to those things, it can hurt you in the long run. And then you got to start submitting DD 215s to get that DD 214 corrected.
Yep.
And you got to start figuring out things, and then you find out that the help is really not there, and you start Googling it, and you just get a bunch of muddy space,
Right.
and a bunch of muddy knowledge that you don't know how to decipher through. So that's my question too, is why do we have military members that have served and have honorable discharges and regardless do not have a DD 214, but yet their ETS has happened or their EAS has happened? It
Right.
makes no sense. That is a failure on active duty part, or it's a failure for, it's not setting a veteran up for success, and then they can't get their 9/11 GI Bill benefits. They can't get the benefits that they deserve and need, and they can't move forward with the next season and next phase of their life.
Yep.
That's a failure.
Yeah.
There's no way you get out of the service and you do not have a DD 214. That's a
Yep.
shame.
No, you absolutely shouldn't. And there's and obviously you can't lead everyone into success, right? But you can try.
Sure.
You can try. So when you look at transition, it's like, where are you going? Are you just going back to the home of record because you've never been anywhere else? Do you have a job lined up? Are you enrolled in college in the first available semester? Are you going to utilize your GI Bill benefits? What is it that you're going to do? Or is the goal and hope to just, live off of any, leave you sell back for a couple of weeks and then just figure it out? That's not a plan.
No.
That's not a plan. And that's, and when you go back to what the recruiter told you, you're going to go and serve. And if you decide to get out, then, the world is going to be open to you, and everybody's going to want to hire you, and everybody's going to want to give you, high 6-figure incomes, and you're going to be the greatest person in the world. There's going to be parade
at all.
And it's so not true.
Yeah.
So to help people go from A to B, I think that keeps them from going into C, which is the addictions and the mental health issues. And because you can have, if you're able to provide for yourself and get the treatment and the help that you need going from A to B, then it makes your time in C a lot easier to deal with if you have some of those issues. And I know a lot of the guys and ladies that you and I help, They have a lot in C. They have a lot of the mental health stuff, and they have a lot of the substance abuse, and it's for many of them, it's not because they just want to do drugs. It's my back's jacked up, my knees messed up, so then they started giving me this, that, and the other, or they wouldn't give it to me at all.
Yeah.
But I know my body and I know my pain, so Aunt Sally had a extra half a bottle sitting around, so she gave me a couple so I could sleep, and that just starts this spiral of addiction to that we could alleviate a good portion of that if we were intentional, helping a guy transition back into civilian life 3 months, 4 months before he actually or she actually leaves active duty.
I know. And on active duty too, something interesting that you bring up is I see so many veterans, and even whenever I was getting out, that were not getting the help that they needed 3 to 4 months. They were still getting put on, some, extracurricular duties and just really stupid stuff, in my opinion, where their focus, if they know that they are not going to re-up or, sign another contract or another 3 or 4 years or whatever, that last year should be focused on transition.
Yep.
Because there's a lot to do. There's no way a veteran comes out and they just have no resume together. They have no game plan, and there should be some mentorship there, even from the direct chain of commands, and there should be better transition assistance CAP programs in place to ensure that we've done everything that we can while that veteran is in the service to make sure that they are set up for success before they get out, that their VA disability claim is filed for and submitted for, that if their pinky toe hurts, that they are getting seen by sick call and that they are being taken care of before they get out, and that they are getting things in their medical records, rightfully so, before they get out, because another factor in this is, as a military, service member, you are a taxpayer. And when you get out, you're a taxpayer as well, too. So you're paying taxes, and where does the VA disability money come from? Ultimately from the taxpayer,
right?
But you're also a veteran as well, too. You are a veteran and you are a military member of the United States military, so you deserve those benefits and those things that you can get. And the more benefits that you have, the more that it helps you and your family. Yep. So if you're hearing this and you need to be proactive, I want to remind you, be proactive. Don't be reactive. Reactive is how you get your butt kicked. Proactive is how you take control of things and you put you and your family and your loved ones for the future and generations to come in the best position. You want to do that.
Absolutely. And another thing is too, that you kind of need to go in day one and understand is that whether you get out as an E3 or an 07, okay, none of your leadership has done what you're about to do.
Exactly.
They haven't done it. They might have read some books and they got some knowledge and and they mean well, but they've not went from this very structured, on the 1st and the 15th, you're going to get paid. There's going to be a formation at 0600 every day. That the chow hall is open, 3 days a week, twice on Sunday, these things. And you don't have to worry about, if you're living in, the barracks or something like that, you don't have to worry about writing a rent check and doing these different things. And you can go 4 years, 8 years, like I had we had a gunnery sergeant that had never been married and lived in the barracks, and so even him, he never had to worry about those things. So every time when you transition from one thing to a new thing, you're going to experience things that you've never had to experience before. And some of them seem simple, right? Because, I write my mortgage check every month, but there was a time where that wasn't the case. I didn't have to go grocery shop, and it sounds so simple when you think about it. But when you realize that when you go 4 or 5 years, 10 years without doing certain things, you know, especially if you join at 17, 18 years old and you go from mama's house to a boot camp somewhere, you've never had those types of responsibilities before. All right. Which is also an issue because, like, for me, for example, I was, you know, our unit, what I wish somebody would have told me, and if I would have really known and understood this, I probably would have did as long as I could have. Right. I probably would have re-enlisted. I probably would have did 20. Is not every, if you're in a bad unit and the leadership has some issues and some failures, that's not necessarily a reflection of every unit of every that you could go to. You know, we went through in the 4 years that I was in, I want to say I had 3 company first sergeants. We had 2 battalion commanders. I had 3 section OICs. I had 3 staff NCO.
There's a lot of turnover.
There was a lot of turnover, and it was more than normal. And because that continuity of leadership and actually accomplishing the mission, there was a lot of time that was wasted trying to play catch up, cleaning up for the last guy.
Yep.
You know, and so I'm a young guy, and I'm put in charge of, you know, I was one time I was an E3. I was performing the job billet of an E5.
Yeah.
And I had, you know, a couple $1 million worth of things that I was responsible for, and handful of Marines that I was responsible for. Yeah. And in my immaturity, right, in my as being a young Marine, because of the job that I did, I was directly interacting with company commanders and company first sergeants on a regular basis because I was in direct support of what they needed for their companies. So I had an elevated position with a low rank, right? So then I get out into the real world. And when I get out into the real world, like, it's different. You know, I didn't have that same level of respect, the same level of authority, you know. And I remember my first college class, man. I got out, I get into the college class, you know, and I'm, you know, 60 days from Afghanistan. Yeah. And man, I could not relate to those 17, 18-year-old kids that were in that classroom. Like, yeah. It was torture to, like, dude, I was just getting shot at 60 days ago. And you're complaining that your mom still gives you a curfew. You know, like, we're not the same.
Yeah. Different. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. Different. It's foreign when you come out. It's foreign when you come back from a deployment and you come back to the United States and you've got, you know, traffic lights and you got stop signs and you got all these things, you know. It's so different that there's a reason why they give you 96 hours after you come back, that a direct order that you cannot drive and that you cannot do certain things if you've been on missions, because it's a culture shock. There's so much that's going to later on. I've learned in my life, things come back, if that's a vivid dream or a nightmare or just a flashback, like in a crowd or a firework. Like you know, thank God I have the Lord in my life now, you know, but still, if I hear something, you know, a sudden boom or blast, I've dealt with so many mortar rounds at Fob Shank and stuff like that while I was in. And when you deal with 50 plus mortar rounds in a night, sometimes it just, you know, subconsciously you just react to it, you know, and you don't realize that. So those are a lot of things that you, the veteran, make sure that you talk about these things and don't suppress them, because they're there. And if you let them lay dormant, it doesn't mean that they aren't growing roots, right? And to get to the root of an issue, you got to dig up the root. Yeah. So if you don't start talking about it, it's kind of like childhood. And then when you get 30, you realize that you have an issue from childhood, you know, and if you suppress things, then later on, Will and I are hanging out, and we realized that, doggone it, man, we got some things, some deep rooted issues. And I'm discovering this because you and I are having this conversation that I need to address, that I never addressed, because nobody's
Yeah.
going to care. I'm just going to suck it up and deal with it. And if you do that as a veteran, you are going to hurt yourself as well. And I kind of want to let you know that if you need to reach out to us, you can at info@veteransclaimservants.com,
Yep.
info@veteransclaimservants.com. And we have free resources available to you through the Camaraderie Foundation. You know, they offer free counseling as well, that you can get, you know, and talk about your issues and problems or anything that you have going on, and you can talk to somebody and get paired up with somebody. So I highly recommend that. Talk about the issues that you have. It'll make for an easier transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I've been able to participate in some of what the Camaraderie Foundation helps with, and it's been a blessing. And you know, it's different. You know, the first time I went through, I had a, I don't know if you want to call it a severe panic attack, nervous breakdown, whatever it was. I was coming over one of the largest bridges here in Jacksonville, and just freaked out. It was a bad day, and I managed to get down to the bottom, to the base of the bridge, and I pulled over, and I called my wife, and I told her, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me,
yeah,
but I need help. Okay, so that was 16 years after active duty. So
16 years.
a lot of life happened in between that time. But there was just a lot of stuff that was going on, and ultimately I would learn it was really from the inability to learn how to talk to people and deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Just allowed the next thing to be suppressed, and the next thing to be suppressed, and the next thing. And you, as a human being, I don't care how tough you are, I don't care how much you can bench, I don't care how fast you can run, your mental and emotional well-being can only carry so much.
Yep. Yep.
And
I agree.
I called the VA. They got me in pretty quick, and that appointment was 3 minutes long. I was in there long enough to tell the person what had happened, and they handed me a prescription of medication and said that they would see me in a month.
Yeah.
You know, and I went because, you know, good little Marine, going to do what I'm told. You know, I go get it filled. I get the medication. I take the medication for 3 days, and it made me feel worse than I did without it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and luckily through my walk with Jesus, I was able to, I had people that I could talk to, that I was able, for the first time really in my life, to get very transparent with what I was feeling, what I was going through, you know, why my head's all rattled and garbled, you know, and was able to start a process and a journey to work through that stuff. That, because I was so adverse to taking medication, because you know, when I was, you know, I'd started drinking a little bit as a late teenager before I joined, and then when I got into, you know, the military culture, it was something that I gravitated to, and we just, you know, we drank every time we could.
Yep.
And when I came out of active duty, that behavior continued, but it just now increased because there's some lack of purpose. There's, what am I supposed to be doing? Okay, you know, and that would carry, yeah, I carried on for 10 years, you know, and I multiple DUIs, you know, busted relationships and all of this stuff, you know, and alcohol was the, you know, the connector in many of those problems. So once I did get sober, it was, man, I'm not taking NyQuil. I don't want to take these meds from the VA. Like, I was just so adverse to it, because I know, like, if I like it, I'm gonna keep doing it. And
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and I just needed somebody to talk to, you know. I needed somebody to talk to that could relate and that actually, that actually cared. And that's why I hope, 1 billion people see this video and just know that there are guys like Blake and guys like Will that care, and we're not the anomaly.
Yeah.
They're out there, find them, seek them out. Like that's your new mission,
Yeah.
right? If you know you're
Do
going through
not
some stuff,
isolate. Do not isolate. And
no.
that's what I want to do. You bring that, what you're saying. I want to encourage you, veterans, military members, don't isolate. When you isolate, that's when you start getting in your head and your thoughts and your flesh. And, I always use this story of, I'm going to get biblical here, of King David. It was a time uh, when the others were out at war and David was just hanging back, chilling, and he was bored. He should have been out there at war. We know he was a warrior, he fought Goliath.
Yeah.
I mean, so he was definitely a man's man, but he was hanging out and he was walking on the roof and saw a naked woman, and was intrigued by it and went a step further and sent somebody out to go inquire on who she was. So what I'm saying is isolation is a big enemy of a lot of people. And get yourself involved, like Will said, into a community, into a unity, find purpose. If you're not feeling well, look, a bottle, a drug, a prescription runs out. It's only temporary. It's only a temporary feel to mask the problems that maybe you're going through, but there are resources out there, and that's what we are here for, is to put you in the right position to have those resources, to have those benefits, to have those things to cover down, because you deserve it. You matter. And your life is worth so much. You were created for a purpose. And, Will and I both want you to know that. So just don't isolate, because isolation can kick you in the butt and start to take over and lead to depression and lead to so many other things, and there are many things that you can get involved with. You don't need to isolate and just stay behind four walls locked in a prison cell, when you get out, and be proactive. Be proactive. I know it's tough. I know you've been through a lot, but be proactive on things, because time and life just keeps going. It's not going to wait on you. It really is not. So, mental health and resilience. Will, I kind of want to transition to here. Well, we're already really talking about it, but the importance of mental health awareness and strategies for coping with it, post service. Hey, 16 years later, you had to pull over and you're like, dang it. I go to sleep, I wake up the next morning, I didn't sleep good, and I had a nightmare or a night terror, a flashback of, you know, going on a certain mission or whatnot that I forgot about,
Yep.
and then I haven't slept through the night. I mean, you've met me. Uh, I'm not a huge overweight guy or anything like that, but um, nobody in my family's had sleep apnea or anything like that, but I have a CPAP machine,
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, what the world, not because I'm eating a bunch of Twinkies, but because I'm just, there's been some issues sleeping and things like that that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
I'm thanking the Lord for the healing and things like that, but I'm still going through these issues, is the reality of it. And there's
Yeah.
still things I need to face. So your mental health resiliency, what are some things that have helped you to cope and since your transition, and some things that you have implemented in your life?
So a couple different things. So a couple of things that I didn't do initially, right? So you mentioned the CPAP machine. I have one of those.
Yeah.
For those that, like, whether you're married or not married, who is in your life. Like, listen to those people that are around you that care about you. If your wife is hitting you in the middle of the night, not telling you to stop snoring, okay, it's not because she's evil. Okay, she is staring at you, watching you stop breathing. So don't do like I did and wait 7 years to get frustrated with all of the nagging, because it's not nagging, it's concern. don't take the path of, oh, I don't want to be told what to do. No, take the advice of the people that are around you, right? When they tell you, dude, you're stopping, you're not breathing when you're sleeping. If your spouse is telling you this, okay, well, go see somebody about it. When your buddy is sitting in front of you and you're, out to lunch and he sees that blank stare come over your face and you're just zoned off in another place and he's, hey, Will, come back to me, right? Take note of that and okay, something's wrong, right? Like, where did you just go?
Yeah.
Right? Like those are, telltale signs that something is going on will be revealed to you typically by those that are around you.
Yeah.
Right. So, but what do? We don't want to hear it. So then we isolate.
Yeah.
And taking those signs, it's, and again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm speaking strictly 100% from personal experience. Right.
Hey, me too. And then one thing that sets in is shame. And we
Yeah.
feel like, man, I'm not good enough and I can't relate to anyone. And those are the voices in our head that we start listening to. And then we start believing it. And then we start acting on bad habits and things that lead to another thing. And it ends up hurting us ultimately in the long run. And then a year has passed and we become very isolated and gain 300 pounds and have no community unity or anything around us.
Yeah. And you start asking, why can't I just be normal? Right. Because then we create a new definition of what normal should be. And, you're not comparing apples to apples because not everybody that you're going to be in proximity to has the same experiences than you. Right. So their normal is different than your normal. Right. So normal is relative. Right. So don't compare yourself to what you seem as this, seemingly well-adjusted individual that's got all of their stuff together because then self-doubt creeps in.
Yep.
Right. Well, I can't be like Blake because Blake's got all of his stuff together and I got all of this built up anger and rage and frustration and sadness that I don't know how to deal with. Right. So now I just add to it because I could never be Blake. Blake's got his stuff together, man. He's got this ministry going and he's, got a healthy marriage and he's got all of these things. And I'm just trying to survive today. Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe it'd be better if I didn't.
Yeah.
Don't
get into comparison with other people and what they're doing. Even during my transition, I got this $100,000 job lined up and all these other things like, be around people that love you for you, not what you can do for them, but that love you and care about you. Will, I am enjoying getting to grow our friendship and our brotherhood, not for anything that you can do for me and vice versa, but because really you love Jesus. We both love Jesus. And, we have that common thing and most important thing that we both feel in our lives that we believe in. And we're relatable. We're both married and stuff like that. And I care about you. I just do. And I feel the same way as well too. You could take everything away and we're still going to be friends, no matter what. And those are the people that you want in your corner, veterans.
Yeah.
Not what people are going to want and need from you and just to be in business with you and so forth. But people that are going to say, dude, let's hang out, man. Let's go get an ice cream together. Let's go to a ball game. Let's go do something. And let's do life together. Let's, when we get together, let's pick up the phone. Let's call each other. Let's talk to each other and be willing to be open, be willing to be vulnerable. It's not going to hurt you. I think the worst thing is to live in shame that Will don't want to hear what I got to say today. It's unimportant. Or Blake don't want to hear what I got to say today. If you want to, and you're listening to this, I want to make this invitation to you. VCS Unity Hour is on Wednesdays. I'm going to continue to do it. God told me to do it, to just make an online community for people to come and hear the word of God and to be encouraged and to be prayed for. and it's online. You could be anywhere in the world, 7 to 8 a.m. on every Wednesday morning. I'm going to keep on keeping on. And then also, Will's got some things in the work. I'm not going to reveal that right now, but I think some online community and stuff like that, dealing with addiction and so forth. And we will be sharing that out because we're
Yeah.
all in this together. We are
Yeah.
all in this together. But if you do need an online community, you can join us every Wednesday for VCS Unity Hour from 7 to 8 a.m. We have different speakers and doctors and things like that. And it's every Wednesday morning. And you can reach out to us at info@veteransclaimservants.com. And we'll be happy if you want to give us your email. You can put your email in the comments or DM me. Don't put it in the comments. DM me, because then you'll have everybody listening to this video probably
Right.
email you. So put your personal information out there. DM, send us a message, and we'll make sure to get you that link. And we'll also put the link in the description of this video as well too. But Will, what do you want to say ultimately that's helped you out to, as far as you pulled over 16 years later and you realized that there was this issue?
Yep. So finding a community that I could talk to.
Yeah.
But the number one thing that has helped me the most is realizing that I was not given this life to feel sorry for myself.
Come on.
I was given this life to be in service to others by serving and worshiping Jesus Christ.
Amen. Yeah.
And when we look, like, it's called military service. You understand? Right?
Yeah.
So you have made a decision to serve.
Yeah.
Right? It's inherently ingrained into your DNA, because that's how we were created by the Creator, is to serve.
Yeah.
Right? So when I started walking in that and serving other people and helping other people and just being available, that's where the magic happened. Right? That's where I started to feel better. That's where I started to see that I have purpose, and it started to make sense, So I don't, there's different, kinds of, recovery groups of different formats and things. And my approach is different than many of them of what you would find in the world. Is like, when Jesus started gathering his original apostles, his original disciples, they immediately began to learn and to serve.
Yeah.
There wasn't a waiting period, right? They were getting OJT all the time, So I understand that you're broken. I understand that there's some things going on in your life that are not perfect, but that should not be a barrier to keep you from passing out a peanut butter sandwich to a homeless guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like, no, you can start today being in service to other people. We're called to love our neighbor. And in doing that, for me and for many people that I know, when that switch got flipped, dude, I ain't here for me. I'm here to help other people.
Come on. Yeah.
And I started to get well. And in the process of doing that and having those relationships, I meet guys like you, you meet guys like, Will with Save to Serve, you meet all of these other people that also have life, right? That have issues, that have things that are going on, but their purpose is to go and serve. And then here's this community and rallying around one another to go and make the world a better place. That's it. Like that is the key. That's the prescription. Go out and do it. Take 2 doses of serving somebody else every day, and you will see your life change.
You will. I'm so thankful for my community and the people that God continues to bring into my life. We live in a city. Is there over 1 million people in Jacksonville? There's over 1 million people in Jacksonville. But it's so cool that I'm on a conversation with you and that I have friends like Will Darnell, and we can go on and on and on and on. Good friends and brothers that our goal, like when I talk to you, is serving.
Yeah.
When I see what you're doing in your life is serving. When you look at probably what I'm doing, it's serving. When I go to brothers, they're doing similar things, they are serving. And what that's done for me and stuff has given purpose and it's given
Yeah.
life, because the one that we believe in and that has given Will, Reed, and Blake and myself hope, and that can give you hope. We aren't here to beat you upside the head with the Bible on this podcast, but we're here to let you know that it's Jesus, that my faith and belief in him has really helped me. And when I'm struggling, because I do struggle and we all struggle and we're going through things, right? Um, you know, the Lord has given me hope. My prayer time, my friends, my community, I can go to them and they're not going to tell me go drink. They're not going to tell me to go do drugs. They're not going to go tell me to pop more prescription pills. They're going to tell me that, dude, let me pray with you. Let me be there for you. Let me help you. Let me encourage you. Why don't you come out and serve and get out of your house and help me go move some furniture or do something? So get involved. Don't sit isolated if you're transitioning. If you need help, we're here for you. You can reach out to us at info@veteransclaimservants.com. I do my best to help you with any questions that you have and that we point you in the right direction and give you the resources, benefits. There's going to be a lot of educational videos coming on our YouTube. You will have no excuse as a veteran between the courses and the YouTube on everything from secondary claims, nexus letters, disability benefits questionnaires, file an initial claim, to if you feel stuck, things that you can do. All the education and information you need will be on this channel. And we just want to inform you because you, the veteran, you, the military member, are, like Will said, less than 3% of the population, whatever that number is, between 1% and 3%, 1%. So less than 1% of the population. You deserve, you are a taxpayer. You are probably still a tax-paying citizen in some way, shape, or form. Get what you need, get what you deserve, rightfully, honestly, and integrally,
Yeah.
always.
Absolutely.
And just get those things, because you and your family, if you have 100% benefits and you have things, your kids can go to school for free here in the state of Florida, and you can get property taxes off, and there's other benefits that you can get, and you know what? You deserve it. So
Yeah.
people ask me all the time, where should I be at VA disability wise? Do you think I can get to 100%? Do you think I can do these things? Look, go as high as you can. The worst thing that somebody can tell you is no. Get the benefits that you deserve. The worst thing that somebody can tell you is no, right? If you have questions or you need help, reach out
Yeah.
to us. If you need community, you can join us on Wednesdays, online. The link will be in the description of this video. Will, is there anything you want to say to a veteran that is listening before we jump off this call? Because me and you could talk all day.
We could.
Yeah.
Like one of the things, right, mindset is everything, right? And I'm not a motivational speaker, right? Like we need prayer, daily Bible reading, spiritual disciplines, right? But also, there's Jesus teaches to take every thought captive. Okay. And when those thoughts roll in, whatever it is that they are, understand that they're there for a reason, right? And it's a memory, it's a pain, it's a joy, it's not everything is bad, right? But you take these thoughts captive, and then deal with them, right? Don't continue to allow them to roll over and over and over again. And I'm not saying that you said anything incorrectly, but one of the definitions of the word struggle is a situation or event that you're going through that is likely to fail. Okay.
That's good.
Stop saying that word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Stop saying that word. Right. Yeah.
Come on. That's good.
Oxford Dictionary defined it as there's a probability that you will fail. And I'm not an English scholar by any means. So I graduated high school on the west side of Jacksonville. So just bear with me, But instead of saying I'm struggling, man, it's like I'm overcoming, right? Because that's what Jesus does, right? Yeah. He puts you in a place to overcome because he's overcame for you.
So
And, just again, it's okay. Today is the day. Today is my new mission, right? My new mission is to be as bold and as active as a servant of others as I can be.
Yeah.
And in doing that, man, like, you're not going to fail, right? You're not going to fail.
Hey, I heard something similar too, and I love what you said, and that is right. Life and death are in the power of your tongue,
Ooh,
right? And the things that come out, they really are. And I remember whenever I was new to the faith, I said that I am a sinner saved by grace, and I was corrected to. And I even had another pastor recently that I heard this from. You're not a Don't identify as a sinner saved by grace. You were a sinner and you're correct in your life. Like, are you going to trip, stumble? Are you perfect?
Yeah.
No, but you're walking away from that. You're not intentionally sinning. You're not speaking that over your life.
Right.
I was a sinner, saved by grace. That was my past. My new identity is I'm walking forward. Will there be some trips and stumbles? Sure, you're a human,
Absolutely.
but I'm not going to identify with that. I'm not going to identify as struggling.
Yeah.
I'm going to have people in my life that are going to speak positive and affirmations and in my life, Jesus over me, and vice versa. I'm going to speak that to myself, but life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those things that we say if we're struggling, or I'm a sinner, oh, I'm just a sinner, say no, or I'm an alcoholic or whatever. No, you're not. You're not. No, if you're walking away from that, no, you're not. You're redeemed, right? And you're walking in a new identity.
Yep.
So, we'll get into identity, another topic, or we'll start going for a long time here. But no, thank you, and that's a good reminder, brother. I appreciate that. I just want to thank you for your service. If I haven't already,
Yes, sir.
I'm very grateful to be here through my service too, and to be having this conversation. I'm glad that we were protected so that we can help spur others along. And again, a common denominator in Will's life and my life has been Jesus. We want to help you with resources, education. Will helps with addiction, things like that. However, we more importantly just want you to know that you're loved and that you're cared about by a creator that created you with a purpose. And if you're listening again, like, subscribe, comment, share, all those great things. Definitely tune in. Will is doing a lot of great things, and tune into the Will podcast. I'm also going to put that in the description here too. Like, comment, share, man. He's a veteran. His information is amazing. You can find him on TikTok, IG, Facebook. Daily verses, daily positivity. Reach out to this brother. Listen, he's got amazing information and content that is continually coming out. And Will, just want to say too, I'm not here to motivate you, but proud of you. And thank you for being vulnerable today to whoever's going to listen to this, because this can help somebody. I mean, 16 years later, then you pull off and, pull off the road and you realize you had to identify a problem, or, you had to call the VA, or you had to do these things. Same here. We aren't perfect or anything like that. We are walking through life, but we're here to be open because we want to make sure that you get help, and that that we are real people that go through things, but that have found a hope in Jesus Christ, right? And our identity has been found through him.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to us today. Will, thank you for your time. It means a lot to me, taking this Tuesday morning to talk with veterans about transition, about military service, relatable things that military members deal with, and veterans. And just thank you for your time this morning. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and know that you matter, that your life is worth it. Amen. Will, thank you. Thank you for joining us. If you're listening, thank you for your time and listening to this podcast today. We're out.
Be blessed.